computer. Okay. All right, so here we are. My name is Leanne Venier. I teach about the science behind the healing effects of color and light. I am talking today with Joe, and he's going to tell us about his son Lucas and his acne that he used to have on his face, and severe acne. We're going to talk about how he used the REDjuvenator #4, which is specifically for targeting antibiotic-resistant bacteria like acne bacteria, MRSA, things like that. And Joe's going to talk about how Lucas healed his severe acne and how that was life-changing for him. So, hi, Joe.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good, good. So tell me, where are you located?
I'm in Ventura County, California.
Okay, and it's obviously colder there than it is in Austin, Texas today, because you're wearing a much heavier shirt than I am.
Yeah, it's been getting colder here.
Yeah. Okay. So so let's see. So you got your #4. You got a #3 and a #4, and you got the #4 specifically for Lucas, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And so when you first got it, so let's talk a little bit about the history, like Lucas's health history and his acne, and how long had he had his acne for?
Well, he's always had a compromised immune system ever since we can remember. He was very young.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe when he started going to school, it really became evident. And so he started fighting things like asthma, eczema, and so that was just something that we always had to work with him on, going to doctors, getting medicine, that sort of thing. So when he became a young adult, we had this kind of fiasco happen at our house with some mold and fiberglass stuff that I won't go into too much, but he ended up having a terrible flare up all over his body, not acne, but just some sort of weird allergic reaction.
Mm-hmm. He had so much toxicity in his system, and that was just like the straw that broke the camel's back, and then it just flared up on his whole body.
Yeah, it had to be. So once he started to heal back from that, the acne started to come through pretty strongly. Yeah. I mean, he started to have a lot of flare-ups and breakouts, and he would try different things.
How old was he at that time?
I'd say about 19 or
19.
Yeah.
And how old is he now?
He'll be 22 in January, so he's 21.
Okay, so he'd been dealing with this for a few years before you got your REDjuvenator.
Yeah, he really didn't have a lot of acne in his early teens or middle teens. It wasn't until, I mean, he had all the other skin problems, right, with the eczema and all that kind of thing, but the acne just kind of came strong around that time that he had that crazy flare up because of what happened.
Yeah, all the toxins.
The last few years, at least, somewhere around there, he started to have it.
Okay, and how did that affect his personality and his willingness to go out and be around people? And
oh, there's no doubt it really affected him. We're pretty active socially, and we like to go out and do a lot of stuff with friends. And he'd be very excited about going out, and about some trip we had planned for the next day. And then he'd get up and look at himself in the mirror, and he would bow out mostly all the time when his skin was bad. He'd say, "I'm not going to go." And it was always extremely disappointed to him, but also to us, to us, because we knew he was going through this.
Yeah.
And so we just struggled with how to help him best. So
you had been kind of like using him as a guinea pig for all of these health issues that he's had through most of his life, right? Trying everything and all these different medications, cures, and things that a lot of them weren't working, not just for the acne, but for his immune issues and things like that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we were always trying everything, talking to friends, online, stuff they'd advertise in schools, vitamins, and we had, I think we still have stuff left over that we never ended up finishing or using because it wasn't effective. And he'd at some point just abandon it and say, I don't want to do it, or, nasty tasting pills or whatever he had to chew. And he was pretty tired of that.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's natural, because if you keep trying things and you're not seeing any help from them at all, it's like, this tastes disgusting and you're making me take it and it's not helping. So why do I keep doing this? So again, you find out about the REDjuvenators, and you got both a #3 and a #4, correct?
Right. Yes.
So, and you got the #3 primarily for kind of like full system and treating yourself and other things, and the #4 you got specifically for Lucas's acne, right?
Yeah, and it was weird how I stumbled across this, if I could tell a little bit about that. I mean, I found out about the red light therapy and started to learn that they were using this as an effective treatment of acne or light therapy, right? And I found out all these different things. So I almost purchased some lights from Amazon that were like just high, they were almost like heat lamps. And I started doing more research and finding out that that was the worst thing you could do. And I think talking to you, you had mentioned that that heats you up and it just makes you feel a certain way or maybe euphoric or whatever, but you're not really actually healing yourself. You're just making yourself feel hot or odd. And
well, it's actually because of the fact that often when people have skin flare-ups, things like eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, acne, things that are coming out in the skin, you already have a lot of internal heat, like too much internal heat, and it's trying to come out through the body. And then when you have things like pustular acne, it's toxic heat trying to come out through the skin. So you don't want to be putting more heat into the system. So there's a lot of hype about, I have a whole video about infrared saunas and when they can be helpful and when you absolutely want to avoid them. So if anybody's interested, they can watch. I have another video, it's the truth about infrared saunas. But anyway, so yeah, but the number 4 REDjuvenator compared to the number 3 specifically targets these types of antibiotic resistant bacterial infections like acne bacteria and MRSA and things like that, because many people, they try antibiotics for severe acne, they try all these drugs that harm your liver or your kidneys, and Accutane and things that cause all of these terrible side effects to try to target the acne bacteria. And in many cases they don't work, or they actually make it worse, or it might kind of maintain things or slightly knock it back, but then it only works for a certain period of time and then it comes back full force and actually even worse. But anyway, so the number 4 actually heals and completely knocks out these colonies, and whether it's, acne, bacteria, MRSA, whatever it is. So, okay, so let's talk about, so you get your number 3 and your number 4. And REDjuvenator Therapy, by the way, is much more than red light therapy, because whether it's number 3, the number 4, they heal at the root of illness and disease. So they actually are targeting not just the topical aspects and the symptoms, but also the root of the problem. So they're healing the full system and the energy body all at the same time. The number 4 has this added feature of specifically going in and killing the bacteria directly, whereas the number 3 is going to heal, which would also work for acne, but works better for mild acne. The number 4 is really good for severe acne, because you have basically this colony of bacteria that's reproducing so quickly and causing these flare-ups, in addition to the toxins that are already in the system, and then that is coming out through the skin. And the bacteria needs to be, it's helpful when you have severe pustular acne to target the bacteria directly while also healing the skin at the same time. So number 4 is great for that. So, okay, so you get your number 3 and your number 4, and you give it to Lucas, and you're like, here's yet another thing that I want you to try. And what was
Yeah, and it's funny because it wasn't just him that was a little bit hesitant at the beginning. I mean, when I read what you had on your website and what you were telling me, and when I was reading about the light therapy, and we were actually even going to go in town, and they had tanning salons that offered therapy for acne, and so I was extremely hesitant again, because I'm thinking, maybe this is just another of the same. I'm going to buy this and it's not going to work at all. I mean, the thing you offer the 30-day money back guarantee, right? And that helped us to kind of take the plunge and order both of them. And I guess by that point you had convinced me enough that I said, well, I'm just going to, especially if one's good for acne and the other one's good for the other things we discussed. I ordered both. And when I presented it to Lucas, he's like, he had a normal response of, I'm not going to try that.
Yeah.
And, I appealed to Lucas's frugalness, because he's always been pretty frugal with his money. He doesn't like wasting money. And so I told him, look, Lucas, we spent, however much money we spent on this thing, and I have 30 days to try it out. If it doesn't work, then we need to send it back. So you need to at least try it for a couple days so that we can figure out if it works.
Right.
Otherwise, we're going to lose, this money that we spent. And so that got his attention. It's kind of weird that would get a young person's attention. But
he's conscientious about money, so.
Yeah, so he ended up trying it for a couple days and just said, look, all you got to do is so many minutes couple times a day. It's not like huge treatment.
Uh-huh.
And at first, like I said, extremely reluctant. And then after he tried it just over a few days, you know, for the first few days I was having to remind him, don't
Yeah.
forget, please, we need to try this thing out. So that was always my plea the first few days is, remember, we got to figure out if this thing works so I could get my money back. And so that was how I would convince him daily. And
Yeah.
then after a few days, I'd look in the direction of his room and I'd see him using it on his own.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, something's working here. Something's
Yeah.
happening, because I no longer have to go into the room and convince him.
Uh-huh.
He's starting to see some change. And so that's why he picked it up and started doing it on his own at some point. I don't remember if that was 3 or 4 or 5 days into it.
Yeah, when you first posted it in the group, you said it was only a few days, and then it's like, he's starting to see some benefit. So now you don't have to keep pestering him, because now he's like, oh, it's actually working. My acne's going away, and it's getting better.
Exactly.
So he started seeing an immediate improvement, like quite a big improvement in the first couple of weeks, right?
Absolutely, yeah, he did.
Yeah, and then he had a flare up where it's like, so what happens, what it doesn't always happen, but it's quite common where people, when they have so much toxicity deep in the skin layers, you get this initial clearing, and then you get the deeper layers start, because the rejuvenators regenerate the tissues from underneath. And the number 4 is going to be doing that as well, but it's also going to be killing the bacteria, and it's also going to be regenerating new skin and tissue underneath. But it's also going to be getting those deep layers, like where that bacteria and the toxins have been, like, you know, deep in the skin, to start pushing through. So you'll get a second wave of clearing. So you might have like a temporary flare up, which is a good thing, because that means that the skin, you know, it's like pushing out those toxins from a deeper layer, and now it's coming to the surface. So he had that little bit of a flare up, and you told him what?
Right. Yeah, because I remember talking to you about that. I don't remember if you had maybe let us know ahead of time that this might occur.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying something, and I might have checked back with you, and you reminded me about the flare up. So I reminded him that this is expected, which was reassuring to him. That way he didn't give up on the process.
Right.
And I just said, just keep doing what you're doing, and it should subside. So just, you know, don't worry. This is something that normally happens. And so he had seen enough of an initial response to the treatment that I think by that point I didn't really have to do too much convincing anymore. At that point, he kept going, and it just continued to get better for him.
So, because you had posted in the group like a couple months into it, and you had, when I'm talking about the group, I'm talking about our private members. For anybody that's watching this, we have a private members only ongoing healing and support community. So everybody that buys the REDjuvenator from me gets to join this community for free, and you get ongoing personalized one-on-one support. You get to read all these thousands of amazing healing stories from other people around the world. You get to share your stories directly with the group, and I get to provide support, and we have like dozens of apprentices that are also providing support in there. So you get all of this amazing ongoing support in your healing process, whatever it is, whether it's acne or like severe health issues or whatever. So you get to be in that community for free, and you get that membership with your purchase. So when I'm talking about, so Joe had shared in the community about Lucas's progress, and about the amazing improvement, and then the temporary setback, and then the improvement again. And what I'm always interested in is how it changes, you know, a young person's life, basically, because so he's social, but he would actually avoid going out in public, right, when he would have a flare up, which was affecting not just him but the family, and you know, affecting his quality of life, and not wanting, you know, and being embarrassed. And was he more insecure when he had all the skin issues?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he would just, you know, basically study his face in the mirror, and he'd know, and we'd try to tell him, you know, we would see also the flare-ups in him, but we would try to reassure him that's not as bad as you think, you know, that sort of thing. But in his mind, it was just, you know, just amplified, and he didn't, you know, it really did affect him emotionally. He was, I think, starting to experience some depression, which really concerned us. And that's why, you know, this came at such a crucial or critical time, because I feel like in some ways it really helped kind of pull him out of that he was kind of cycling downward. And I really would feel it helped him. I'm so thankful that he, you know, we found you when we did, because otherwise you know, you just hate to think, especially when young ones experience depression and it's a continual cycle downward, you get concerned about that.
Yeah, well, actually, it has been, you know, we do know from, you know, data that acne, severe acne is the second leading cause of suicide in teenagers. So when they have skin issues, it can cause severe depression. And that is like enough to, you know, along with all the hormonal changes that they're going through and things like that and challenges of being at that age. And it's just one more thing. And it's just, you know, it does make them want to just kind of like hide away, and then it becomes this vicious cycle downward. So fortunately, we caught it in time. And so now, like, how did that start changing? Did he start engaging more and going out and being like doing more family events and going out with his friends?
Yeah, it's just a total night and day difference. Just amazing because, you know, for us as parents, it was really hard to watch him go through that. And we just wanted to, I mean, it sounds funny to say, but you want that magic pill. And this was kind of like a magic pill, so to speak, because, you know, you hear of treatments that sometimes drag on and sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. And even with the small little flare-ups, it still was overwhelming how you could tell this was really effective, an effective tool to fight this. And it was very convincing to him also. So we could start to see his confidence growing.
As his skin is clearing and he's looking like a beautiful young man now.
Right.
Just seeing all these, like, you know, cysts on his face.
Right. And then, you know, less cancellations of going out to events. I don't know when the last time he did that. It's probably been several months now that he's, you know, bowed out of going somewhere with us. He has a new friend that he's been talking to, her. She's a very nice young lady who's a photographer, professional photographer.
Yeah.
They're always taking pictures of each other and posting them. I mean, his confidence has grown to that level. And,
can you imagine before? It's like when you have skin stuff, you're like, no, don't take a picture of me. I don't want to be in the family photo. I don't. Yeah. So now he's dating a photographer.
Yeah. And and I'll send you some updated pictures too. He just looks, you know, and we're not the sort of people that we're not, you know, superficial by any stretch of the imagination. You know, looks aren't everything to us.
Right.
But especially when they're affecting someone psychologically, then now we are concerned about that. And so
yeah, but it's about your confidence. I mean, the face is the thing that people see first, you know, like when you're clothed everywhere else, that's all that people are going to see. And when you're self-conscious about that, it's just, it can be devastating to have that, you know, it's like and then it always is going to look worse to you in the mirror when you're seeing it and you're like, maybe, you know, other people aren't seeing it as bad as he was seeing it, but it's like still, it's like it's magnified, and it's like the worse it is, that downward spiral. So, but anyway, so his skin is looking beautiful now. He's got
so he welcomes, you know, photo opportunities with his friends, and you know, when they do selfies or whatever, or with his new, you know, girlfriend and stuff, it doesn't bother him to, you know, be in photos. He's not self-conscious about that anymore, and it's just super awesome to see. I mean, we're super happy that, you know, he's at the level. And I was just telling him the other day, you know, how it makes us so happy that his confidence has grown and we're no longer concerned about his emotional welfare. It's a relief for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, at this time of life, I mean, that's so formative as well, because it's what people take into the rest of their life, the way that they, you know, get jobs and work in business and things like that, the way they interact with people in general, not just, you know, immediate family members or going out in social events, but it's like the way that you interact with the world then, because your confidence goes up so much, and like the things that you can accomplish then, and you have confidence to do things and try new things, and it really flows over into all aspects of life. And I think you've probably seen that, right?
I have, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because he actually recently got a really good job. He's always been the sort of young man that likes to work with his hands, and so he's getting this nice job where he's actually installing sprinkler systems for fire safety.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so I'm really glad that he didn't have to go through this journey with that other thing to contend with, you know, because now he shows up to work. You could see that it's helping him in his confidence at work too, right? Because he's learning new things. he just doesn't have that additional thing to contend with daily, right? It's
Well,
just
yeah, you probably couldn't even have done that job before, because you're like, if you're going in and doing these installations, you're constantly interacting with new people. Like, you could be a computer programmer or something where you stay at home and you work on the computer and nobody ever sees you. But
right.
gone out and proactively selected a job where he's interacting with the public every single day, right? Not just the people that he works with, but the, customers that
Right.
he's doing these installations. So, I mean, 6 months ago, like, you can't even imagine, I can't, it's like, typically people are like, oh no, it's like, I have to like see new people every day and I have to interact with people and they're going to see my face. Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yes, I'm sure it's had a positive impact on his whole growth in that area.
mhm.
In that area, he's
The one thing that you said, I think it was a family friend that said, oh, Lucas's skin is looking so much better. What did they say? They didn't want to embarrass him or something?
yeah, they because Lucas is kind of a pretty reserved guy, and he's pretty low key, like my wife, and she mentioned for sure that she couldn't believe how amazing things have turned around for him.
Uh-huh.
She just didn't want to say anything to him because she didn't want to embarrass him. I mean, how do you bring that up in conversation? Your
Well, yeah,
skin, you look
specifically about his skin, right?
right. Absolutely, yeah. That's what I mean. His acne, and she's like, "How do I bring that up? Your skin used to look terrible, and amazing."
How do you give a compliment to somebody about, like, you look really, really bad before, but now you look great?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why she hesitated complimenting him on it, because, she didn't want to embarrass him from that standpoint. And
But she told you guys, so it's good that it's not just, it wasn't just mom and dad that are seeing this huge improvement, and Lucas himself, but obviously he's got a new girlfriend, and he's got, much more of a social life, and he's got a great job where he's interacting with the public, all because his skin is looking better and better and healthy and like luminous, and he's, coming through in all aspects of his life. So
right.
yeah, well, a lot of people, it's like, if you haven't walked in those shoes and if you don't realize what it can be like to have, like, I speak from experience too. I never had like bad acne growing up, but when I had severe liver toxicity, this was years ago, and I was working at Lockheed, and I had this stressful job, and I was in the engineering, realm, and I was like designing submarines, and I was like, I was not happy with my life, and I had all this liver toxicity, and my skin on my face, I was getting these red blotches, and then my skin was getting so red and swollen around my eyes, and then it would be like, there would be days when my whole face would be like completely swollen. I would not leave the house. It was so embarrassing, because it's like, it looks so bad, and it's like, I can't go out in public and be seen like this. And then finally I figured out what was going on. I started doing cleanses and things like that, and with the REDjuvenator, I wouldn't have ever gotten out of balance like that. But anyway, so I know what it's like when your skin on your face looks terrible, because skin anywhere else on your body, guess what? You can put clothing on, you can cover it up, and it's like, nobody needs to know. But your face, you can't exactly go out and put a mask over your face without getting arrested, because you look like you're holding up a bag. Okay? So anyway, but yeah, it makes a huge difference. Well, anyway, I'm so glad that Lucas is looking and feeling better, and he's like turned his whole life around, and the depression's completely gone, and you're a very good father for having helped him with all of this. So I'm sure he recognizes that.
Yeah, he's very appreciative. We've helped him with it. I should tell you a funny story about that, though, because we have a great relationship, but he likes to tease me, and I think this might have to do with I don't know. Actually, I don't know what it is, but he likes to pretend like, well, it wasn't just the REDjuvenator that helped me, Dad. It's my diet and exercise and that sort of thing.
Right.
I say, well, maybe I should return it. I'll tease him back, and he'll say, no, that's okay. You can leave it. And so he still does his treatments. He was doing one last night. So I don't know why he likes to give me a hard time that way, but I know he
well, it's like anything, but he had changed his diet before, and it wasn't making a difference.
That's right. That's what I remind him of, by the way. And by the way, he's gone back to his old eating habits now, because he wasn't eating beef or chicken. He was actually almost vegetarian, and he was still having some flare-ups a while back. And then recently, he's gone back to eating beef and that sort of thing. But guess what? he's doing okay because he's still continuing using the REDjuvenator. So
Right.
And I try to remind him of that, but he finds some way to get out of it.
Well, he doesn't want to give you too much credit.
That's right.
Well, yeah, you helped me, but I did a lot of it myself. So
that's right.
but
There's a little bit of that going on for sure. Yeah.
That's the other thing when people are like, well, I was doing all this other stuff and it wasn't helping. But as soon as I started using the REDjuvenator, then I see this huge improvement. And guess what? Now you go back to what you thought was the problem in the first place, going back to your original diet, which you thought was causing the problem. And guess what?
Right.
The acne's not coming back because that wasn't the problem. So anyway, but that's good. As long as he recognizes, the benefit and that you contributed. So that's
absolutely
good to acknowledge that. But anyway, okay, well, I'm just super happy that he's doing so much better and he's happy and he's got a good job and girlfriend and doing lots of photos of his face now. Okay, well, anyway, I will end the recording. I just wanted to let people know, if anybody wants to know more about the REDjuvenators, the REDjuvenator number 4 is the one we're talking about today. This is the website, catalyticcolor.com, catalyticcolor.com, and you can see my very high-tech piece of paper that I wrote this on. Sometimes it's easier to see it written. Catalyticcolor.com, and there's all kinds of information. I've got videos. You can watch other videos on YouTube if you want to understand about the science behind the healing effects of color and light, and energy medicine, because the REDjuvenators also provide an energy medicine component that heals at the root of illness and disease. So it's not just treating symptomatically, it's actually healing at the root of the problem. So the number 3s, the number 4s, and and anybody that has any questions, you can always go to the contact page on catalyticcolor.com and you can reach me that way if you have specific questions. And lots of videos on YouTube. Go and explore my YouTube channel and you can learn more about all of this. And okay, well, thanks, Joe. It's been really nice chatting with you today.
Nice chatting with you. Thank you.
And I hope your cooler weather continues. I'm looking forward to cooler weather arriving here in Austin soon. We're in October now, middle of October, and it's still 90-something degrees out here. So, okay, well, anyway, thanks. And I'm going to stop the recording now if I can get my mouse to cooperate. And, okay, bye, Joe.